So hi everyone, in this next video we're gonna look about pattern matching and basic of pattern matching, and this is quite a powerful feature in Scala, so watch it out. If for example you have a value anywhere in your program, at one point in time you're gonna get on a value, and initially it's gonna have value 1, but let's assume you don't know what value is going to have. You can say number of times, for example, with match, and you basically do a case or a switch like in Java, but in here it's like a match and case. So you'd say case is 1, then do something. Case 3, do something else. I'm gonna print 3. Um, and then you think, okay, what is the default in case is not 1 or 3, and you can write it like case and underscore, and then the message for the default case. Unlike the switches in Java, the once it goes into a case, you don't have to put a break, because first of all it won't fall back to the other cases, right? So that's easier in a way, and you don't have to do um, a default case or anything. Also, you can have any type of expression in that case. So that expression can have any type, can have primitive type, can have object type, and so on. So as you can see, if I run that part, it will tell me that it's a 1, because I gave the value for a number of times to 1. Now if I would want to match broader, it can do that, because it's actually matching on expression. So I can say case value, if value is smaller than 2, then do something. So you can do very powerful matches in here, because you can use the if to create your conditions, and the conditions can become quite big, so you have a lot of room there to create very powerful pattern matching. And this kind of are used everywhere, right? It's very easy to create, and you're gonna say bigger or equal than 2, that will be the second one. And the third case, the usual, like any other value, who cares? At least that's what I call it. If I'm gonna run this one, remember the number of times is 1. Each call, you should say smaller than 2, and of course I need to type it correctly and not make typos there, but I know you guys are going to write it correctly the first time, so I'm not worried there. Now, like I said, this expression, the evaluation of the case, it can match anything. So let's say you can even match on like objects, and let's assume that you have a comparison function, and a comparison function will get an argument that can be anything. It can be an int, tomorrow it can be a character or a string or anything. So how I can define an object that can be anything that you haven't decided yet what it is. In Java you would say, okay, it's an object, it's a class object. In here you would say it's class any, and any can represent literally anything. And I can match this argument that I'm giving here to this function, and I can say I can match the first case to a value that could be an int. So you can do this kind of cases, very interesting. So I say case value that is an int, and I can say I can add another condition. If value is smaller or equal than 1, then my return statement will be value minus 1. And that is because I put any also on the return of this function. So another thing to note here, that if I give it a name inside the case, I give a name value, I can use it later on the part where I'm executing. So you can give it a name. If you're not interested in the name, then you don't have to. So in case of all the other integers, I'm going to say add 2 to the value that you get. But of course you can have maybe characters. So if I'm saying case char of the type char, then just return me the character. And I'm running this one. Note here that I didn't put any other default case, because yeah, I don't care at this moment. I actually don't know what happens. What happens if I'm calling this? So a comparison function, I'm gonna call it to character C. I wanna see what it should print the character. So I'm expecting that the result will be any of C, and which is correct. But what if I call it with a string, for example? A string is not inside the case. And what would you expect? I would expect an error here, and I'm really hoping I'm getting an error. And it does take a while, but in the end it says a match error because it cannot match the string. So this is so you know what happens when you don't put a default case. Usually it's a very good idea to put one, even if it doesn't do anything, just to avoid this error. So if I'm gonna put case, and I'm gonna put the underscore. This underscore is kind of a wild card, so it can mean anything. It can be used in a lot of places. It can be used in imports as wildcard, in function definitions, in a lot of places. So I'm trying to run this. I'm saying in case is anything else, just print, and then of course it complains, and initially I read the error and it complains about an unbound value, so I'm thinking maybe I need to put it a type, but that doesn't work either. So then I just decide to print something, because it should return, something. Of course it takes a bit of fiddling, because I sometimes am too lazy to read about, so I like to just try around up until I cannot get it working. And we can always make more videos later on in which we explain more in detail about what's going on, but for now I think this is enough. So these are some of the basic pattern matching, and I wanted to expand a bit on the pattern matching for classes, or for like instances of classes. There's always if you have a class, there's almost always a need to compare on exact fields of this class, right? And you can declare your own equals in hash code, so you can do equality between entire instances of objects. But let's assume we have a simple class called child, and the child has a name, a string, and an age, an int, And I would like to be able to do the following. I would like to be able to say, to define a child. I'll call it chibi, and that child has a name. The name, I think I'll name it chibi chibi, and I'm gonna give it an age. And I would like to say to match on this one, and to say, in the case of the age of chibi is, and I'm thinking now what the age should be, if I need equality or not. And then if the age is bigger than 10, then I can print she's more than 10. If the age will be different, then I can print something else, of course. And maybe I want to test on the name and as well. So I'm just wondering, I'm just typing it. Of course, you know how much I hate the fact that it doesn't show me if what I wrote has errors or not. So I won't know until I'm actually executing this part. But I'm thinking like, well, maybe it's possible. I mean, I could see that it's possible to use any there in a case match. So I'm saying on every other child, any other case, the child will be an alien. Why not? And I'm just running this, and oh, it seems that I actually have an error. So it's not really possible to do this, because it says that I actually have to match on the object so the things that I'm matching on needs to be of the type of the object that I'm declared there. So it needs to be a type child. So it seems that it's not possible to do it. However, if you play around more, and then if you actually make the effort to go and read a little bit how you could do this, you find out that there's a special type of class that you can declare that is basically built especially for pattern matching, and it has some special properties, and in any respect is like any other class, just with some perks. And now I'm still looking at these errors, and sometimes they're quite good. It says type mismatch, it's expecting a child but it's getting an int, and there's nothing really I can do. So I decided to make use of this special type of class, and I'll just going to comment these lines because they're not gonna work anyway. In the meantime, I'm just trying one last thing, one last effort to see maybe I can make it work, but no, I can't. So I really didn't want to use K classes because I want to see if it's possible to, you know, do this without them, but I guess it's not. So there's a entire decision process here in the back of my mind. Should I do it? Should I not do it? And then in the end, I think I will start doing it. So I'm commenting everything out, and I'm gonna say, okay, this is a case class and this is how I declare it. You don't need the vals. And like I said, this case class has some perks. And what are the perks? Well, first of all, it automatically creates fields and values and equals and hash codes and toStrings methods for you. So you don't have to do anything. You just have to declare it and put the fields there in the default constructor, and everything else is taken care of for you. So I don't have to override the toString anymore, which is really good because that takes always a lot of times. But also it's very handy to use in pattern matching, as you will see now. Because I'm starting to uncomment all that stuff, I declared multiple variables, multiple childs, and now I'm gonna match. For the first one, I'm gonna try to use the case classes, and for that, I'm declaring a function child type that takes a child as an argument, and I'm gonna say a child match and the rest. As you can see, when you're using matching with functions, you don't have to put actually the accolades around the entire block because it's considered one block anyway. So what I'm doing now, I can say I can match on a class a child, and I can give it exactly the parameters that I want to match on. So another good thing about case classes is that you don't really need to do the new parameter. It's kind of optional because actually it already has companion objects and everything made for you automatically. So it's very easy to match these ones, right? Because you can match it with the exact parameters that you want. The last case, you can write it in multiple variants. If you don't care about what the name of and the age of the child is, you can just use the wildcards, the underscores, and then write something. If you do care about the values, like okay, in any other case they're gonna be any other values, maybe you want to print them, you want to log them to a logger, then you just have to give it a name. So you can say case child and name and age, and you can use those variables that you write here, name and age, further on to log things. And this kind of pattern matching and case classes are widely used in all the projects that I've worked on so far, and they can be quite powerful, but this is just the beginning, right? Just to tell you that they are out there, they're very easy to use, and to invite you all to start messing around, start trying out things, start putting as many parameters as you want, and try it to see what works and what doesn't, because if you don't try out, yeah, you won't work. And make it, break it, like I say, break it and see what's going on. Like I said, classes are like any other class. They can have inside their own methods. You can override the apply method. So except for the fact that they have these extras like already defined equals, hash code, and toString method, and these properties, they are just like any other classes. So I hope I made you think more about these case classes, and Um, I've shown you that they are out there, and I would like really to see in the comments, like, what have you discovered about them, and maybe you have questions, and if there are enough questions about them, then I can always go and make more videos explaining more in depth. But first I would like to see what you guys do with it. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.